The night was heavy with noise. 1,000 voices filled the alien marketplace. The air smelled of smoke, oil, and strange spices. Bright lamps swung above the crowd, casting light on cages and chains. Traders shouted loudly, showing their prizes. Some sold weapons. Some sold slaves. Others sold creatures no one had ever seen before. In the middle of the marketplace stood a high stage. On that stage, beings from across the galaxy were being sold to the highest bidder. A tall alien with silver skin acted as auctioneer. His voice echoed like thunder as he pointed at each captive. The crowd cheered, waved their hands, and raised their bids. But at the far end of the stage, 2 figures stood apart. 2 alien girls. They were not in cages, but chains still locked around their wrists. They were thin, their skin glowing faintly under the lights. Their eyes were large, wild, and full of fear. The crowd looked at them but quickly turned away. Too soft. One trader spat. Too wild, another laughed. They are not warriors, they are useless. The auctioneer frowned. His voice dropped lower. No one wants them? No one will bid? The 2 girls lowered their heads. Shame and despair covered their faces. They had been moved from market to market, always ignored, always mocked. They had no more hope left. The auctioneer growled, "Very well. Starting price, half credit." Laughter shook the crowd. "Half credit? For this? Not worth a meal," shouted a fat merchant. "They will break in a day. Worthless." Another called, "The eye." Auctioneer slammed his staff angrily. "Quiet. Someone must want them." But the crowd only laughed louder. No one raised a hand. Then, through the noise, footsteps echoed. A man walked slowly toward the stage. He was human. His clothes were worn, his boots covered in dust from long travel. His eyes were sharp, calm and steady. The crowd grew silent. A human in this market was rare. Some aliens whispered, pointing at him. Others scowled with distrust. Humans were often ignored here, seen as weak, poor, unimportant. Yet this man walked, with confidence. He stopped before the stage and looked up. His gaze did not move to the other slaves. He looked only at the 2 alien girls. The auctioneer noticed. His lips twisted into a grin. "Ah, human, do you wish to bid? They are cheap, very cheap. Even you could afford them." The crowd burst into laughter again. The human did not answer at first. His eyes stayed on the girls. Their chains reflected the light. Their glowing skin shimmered faintly like hidden fire. Their fear was clear, but so was their strength. Something unspoken surrounded them. Finally, the man raised his hand. "I will take them." Gasps filled the air. The laughter stopped. Every eye turned to him. "What?" the auctioneer shouted. "You want them? No one else will even look at them." "Yes," the man said calmly. "I see value others don't." The crowd began to murmur. "Is he mad? Why waste credits? What does he see that we cannot?" The auctioneer squinted, suspicious. "Do you know what you are buying, human? They are trouble. They are wild, untamed. They will cause you pain." The man's voice was quiet but strong. "I know what I see. I see life worth saving." The auctioneer hesitated. The crowd grew restless. Then, with a shrug, the auctioneer slammed his staff down. "Sold. To the foolish human." The chains of the 2 girls were unlocked. They stumbled forward, weak from hunger and exhaustion. They looked at the man with wide, uncertain eyes. Fear still gripped them. They expected cruelty. They expected chains again. But the man did not strike them. He did not force them to kneel. Instead, he stepped forward, offering a small bottle of water. The girls froze, confused. No one had given them kindness before. Slowly, one of them reached out, took the bottle, and drank. Her eyes widened with shock. She looked at him again, her voice a whisper. "Why?" The man did not answer. He only turned away from the stage and began to walk. He glanced back once, nodding for them to follow. The 2 alien girls hesitated, then stepped off the stage. The crowd stared, whispering in confusion. A human had done what no one else dared. As the three of them walked into the shadows of the market, questions filled the air. Why would he buy them? What does he know? Is there something hidden about those girls? The auctioneer watched them leave, his grin fading. A dark thought entered his mind. He had seen many buyers before, but this man was different, perhaps too different. The alien marketplace returned to noise and chaos, but a quiet suspense remained. Somewhere in the darkness of the galaxy, a new story had begun. And for the first time, the two alien girls were not just property. They were part of something bigger, something even they could not yet understand. The human had seen their true beauty, and that choice would change everything. The night market faded behind them. The human walked through narrow alleys, his steps calm, steady, unafraid. Neon lights flickered on broken walls. Shadows of strange creatures moved along the streets, whispering, staring. But the man did not slow down. Behind him, the two alien girls followed with heavy steps. Their chains had been unlocked, but the marks still burned on their wrists. Their glowing skin dimmed under the city's dust. They looked at him with caution, their eyes sharp and questioning. One of them whispered in her strange tongue. The other shook her head quickly, glancing at the man as if to warn her sister not to speak too loudly. To them, humans were unpredictable. Sometimes cruel, sometimes weak, always strange. Why had this one chosen them? The human stopped near an old building. The sign above it was broken, letters unreadable. He pushed the door open, and the smell of metal and oil drifted out. Inside was a small room, cluttered with tools, scraps of machines, and a single bed. It was not rich, not grand. It was a simple place, but safe from the noise of the market. He motioned for them to sit. The girls hesitated. They stayed close together, their hands gripping each other's arms. They did not trust this man, but they were tired. Their legs shook, their bodies weak. Slowly, they lowered themselves onto the floor. The man moved to a shelf, pulling down a small container. He opened it and placed food in front of them. Simple bread, some dried fruit, a piece of cooked meat. The older girl narrowed her eyes. "Why?" she asked in broken words. Her voice trembled, but her gaze was strong. The human met her eyes. His face was calm, unreadable. "Because you are hungry." The younger girl blinked, confused. No one had fed them without reason before. No master had ever given without expecting something in return. The older girl did not move, but the younger one, trembling with hunger, reached forward. She tore a piece of bread, lifted it slowly to her mouth, and ate. Her eyes widened in surprise. It was soft, warm, real food. Tears filled her eyes. The older girl still watched the man. Her voice was sharper this time. "What do you want from us?" The human was silent for a moment. He sat on a chair, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. His gaze was steady, serious. "I want nothing. I only saw something others did not." The girls glanced at each other. Suspicion burned in their hearts. The man's eyes dropped for a moment, as if looking into a memory. His voice grew quieter. "Once, my people were called weak, too soft, too wild. Others laughed at us. They thought we would break, but they were wrong. I learned that what others see as weakness can be strength." He lifted his eyes again, sharp and strong now. "That is what I saw in you." The room grew silent. The girls stared, not sure if they believed him. Outside, distant sounds of the market carried through the night, laughter, shouting, the clink of coins. But here, in this quiet room, something different was growing. The younger girl finished eating. She leaned against her sister, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. For the first time in many days, she felt her body relax. The older girl, however, stayed alert. She studied the man's face, his hands, his eyes. She was waiting for the moment he showed his true nature, the cruelty all masters revealed in the end. But the moment never came. Instead, the human stood. He picked up a small blanket from his bed and placed it gently over the younger girl. She flinched, expecting a strike. But his touch was careful, almost protective. He stepped back and spoke softly. "Rest. No one will harm you here." The older girl frowned. "Why risk yourself? We bring trouble. Everyone knows this." The man's lips curved in a small, sad smile. "Trouble is not always a curse. Sometimes it is a test." His words puzzled her. The human turned away, moving back to his chair. He leaned against the wall, closing his eyes. His hand rested near a small weapon on his belt, not from fear of them, but from habit. He lived in a dangerous galaxy. The two sisters sat together, whispering in their language. Their voices were low, almost too quiet to hear. "He is strange," the younger said. "He is lying," the older replied. "Then why feed us?" "I don't know. But we must be careful." Sleep began to pull at them. Their bodies could not fight anymore. Slowly, they leaned against each other and drifted into uneasy dreams. The man opened his eyes once more, watching them. His face was unreadable, but behind his eyes was a storm of memory. He remembered faces of his own people, long gone. They too had been mocked, cast aside, seen as nothing, and he had not been able to save them. Now perhaps he had a chance to do better. The night outside grew quieter. The stars above the alien city glowed faintly. Somewhere in the darkness, unseen eyes were watching. The auctioneer's words had spread. A human had bought the wild ones. Whispers traveled quickly in this galaxy, and in those whispers, danger was already rising. But inside the small room, the first thread of trust had been woven. Thin, fragile, but real. A human had chosen two no one else wanted, and that choice would echo far beyond the walls of this city. The next morning came with a pale light filtering through the cracks of the old building. The city outside was already loud, vendors shouting, machines roaring, the endless hum of alien voices. But inside the room, it was quiet. The two alien girls stirred slowly from sleep. Their glowing skin shimmered faintly as they stretched their arms. The younger one rubbed her eyes, her face soft and innocent for the first time in many days. The older one, however, rose quickly, alert and tense. She had not slept deeply. Her mind had stayed sharp through the night, waiting for betrayal. The human was already awake. He sat near the small table, fixing a piece of broken equipment with steady hands. Sparks jumped as he adjusted wires and tightened screws. He did not look at them, but he knew they were watching. The younger girl whispered, "He did not harm us." The older one frowned. "Not yet." The man looked up. His eyes met theirs for only a moment before returning to his work. "Hungry?" he asked simply. The younger girl nodded shyly. The older girl did not answer. He placed food on the table, more bread, more dried fruit. Simple, but real. The girls hesitated, then slowly moved forward. The younger one ate eagerly. The older one took only a small piece, never taking her eyes off him. The man studied them quietly. He noticed their thin frames, the scars on their wrists, the way they flinched at sudden sounds. They had been treated like property for too long. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, steady. "You think I am like the others?" The older girl's eyes narrowed. "Aren't you?" He set down his tools and leaned back in his chair. "No. I once belonged to chains too. Not the same as yours, but close enough. I know what it feels like." The girls exchanged glances. They did not understand. Humans were not slaves, not here. Humans were weak traders, drifters, mercenaries, but not chained. The man's eyes darkened as he looked away. "My people were taken once, called weak, called useless. Others thought we were nothing. I watched them laugh as those I loved were taken, and I could not stop it." His jaw tightened. His hands curled into fists. The younger girl tilted her head. "You lost them?" The man nodded slowly. "Yes, and I learned Sometimes what others see as weakness is only strength they cannot understand. The room grew heavy with silence. His words cut deep, though the girls did not fully grasp them. But in his voice they heard truth. The older girl's suspicion wavered, but only for a moment. Her heart still told her to be careful. The younger girl, however, leaned forward slightly. "Why us?" she asked. The man looked at her glowing skin, her bright eyes filled with both fear and wonder. "Because I see something no one else does." Before more could be said, a sudden noise echoed outside. A crash, a shout, then footsteps running past the door. The girls froze, their eyes wide. They pressed close together, trembling. The human stood quickly, moving to the window. He looked outside, his hand resting on the weapon at his belt. Through the cracks he saw city guards chasing a thief down the street. Harsh voices, heavy boots, the clang of weapons. When the sound faded, he turned back to the girls. They had pulled into the corner, shaking like frightened animals. He spoke softly. "No one will hurt you here. You are safe." But his words could not erase years of pain. The older girl whispered sharply to her sister, "Do not trust him, we cannot." The younger one whispered back, "But he saved us." "Or bought us," the older replied coldly. The man heard them, though their voices were low. He did not argue. He simply returned to his work. The day passed slowly. The girls remained close together, speaking in their language. The younger one asked quiet questions, curious about the man. The older one warned her again and again. As night fell once more, the human lit a small lamp. The glow spread across the room, touching the girl's skin. Their faint natural light seemed to grow stronger in the darkness. The man noticed. His eyes lingered. "You shine," he said softly. The younger girl looked down shyly. The older girl pulled her sister closer, glaring at him. "It is a curse," she said sharply. The man shook his head. "No, it is not a curse. It is a gift." The older girl's heart beat faster. No one had ever spoken of their glow with respect, always with fear, always with disgust. But this human spoke as if he saw something different. Still, she did not let herself believe. The human leaned back, his eyes half closed. "Rest. Tomorrow may bring trouble." The younger girl curled up under the blanket. Her breathing slowed as she drifted into sleep. The older girl stayed awake longer, her glowing eyes watching the man in the lamplight. And as she watched, something inside her shifted. Doubt still ruled her heart, but a small crack had opened. A whisper of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, this human was not like the others. But outside, the city was not blind. The story of the human who bought the wild ones was spreading. Traders, hunters, and worse had already heard, and not all of them would stay away. The city never truly slept. Even at night, the markets hummed, machines roared, and voices echoed through the narrow streets. But inside the old building, it was quiet. The human sat near the door, sharpening a small blade. The two alien girls lay close together, wrapped in the thin blanket. The younger girl had fallen into deep sleep, her face calm for once. The older girl, however, stayed half awake. She watched the man's every move, her glowing eyes narrow. She did not trust him fully, but she could not deny the strange safety she felt in his presence. Outside, the night grew colder, and somewhere in the shadows, danger moved. 3 raiders crept through the streets. Their armor was patched with rust, their weapons old but deadly. Their leader had heard whispers. A human bought the wild ones. Curiosity had become greed. If the human saw value in them, perhaps they were worth stealing. The raiders reached the broken building. They moved silently, weapons ready. One kicked the door open with a crash. The human spun around instantly, blade in hand. The older girl gasped, pulling her sister close. The younger one woke with a start, her glowing skin brightening in fear. The raider leader stepped forward, grinning. "Human, hand them over." They are not yours. The man stood tall, calm but firm. They are not yours either. The raiders laughed. You think you can stop us alone? The human said nothing. He raised his blade. The fight exploded in the dark room. One raider lunged, swinging a jagged weapon. The man blocked it, sparks flying. He kicked the attacker back and turned sharply, slashing at another. The room filled with the clash of metal, the heavy breath of battle. The girls pressed into the corner, trembling. Their chains were gone, but fear still bound them. Then the younger girl felt something stir inside her. A heat, a pulse, a power she had long hidden. Her glowing skin began to brighten, her veins shining with light. The older girl grabbed her arm. "No," she whispered sharply. "Do not show it." But it was too late. The raiders noticed the sudden glow. Their eyes widened with greed. "There," one shouted. "The power. That's what he wanted." They charged toward the girls. The tabir human saw them coming. He tried to block, but one raider slipped past him, rushing at the sisters. The older girl screamed, shielding her sister with her own body. But the younger girl's fear turned into fire. Her skin blazed with brilliant light, flooding the room. The raider froze, blinded. Then a wave of energy burst from her body, throwing him across the room. He slammed into the wall with a crash and fell unconscious. Silence followed for a heartbeat. Everyone stared. The older girl gasped, holding her sister tightly. "You revealed it!" The raiders' leader growled, his greedy eyes now burning with hunger. "So it's true. You are not weak. You are weapons." The human moved quickly, striking down the second raider before he could reach the sisters. His blade was swift, his strikes precise. But the leader remained, circling, eyes fixed on the glowing girl. "You cannot protect them, human," he sneered. "They belong to me now." The man's voice was calm, but sharp as steel. "They belong to no one." The leader roared and lunged. The human met him with his blade. They clashed, sparks flying, strength against strength. The fight was fierce, the outcome uncertain. Then the older girl felt her own body tremble. The glow spread through her skin, not as bright as her sister's, but strong in a different way, wild, untamed. Her eyes burned with fire. She stood, pushing her sister behind her. For years she had feared this power, hidden it, cursed it. But now she let it rise. Her voice rang out, strong and fierce. "We are not weak." Energy burst from her hands, striking the raider leader with raw force. He screamed as he was hurled back, his weapon clattering to the floor. The room shook with the impact. Dust fell from the ceiling. The air smelled of burned metal and ozone. The human stood still, his blade lowered. He looked at the two girls, their glowing forms bright in the darkness. His eyes did not show fear. Instead, they showed something else. Respect. The raider leader groaned, struggling to rise. But the man stepped forward, pressing his blade to the alien's throat. His voice was low, deadly. "Leave, tell the others what you saw. But remember this. If you return, you will not leave again." The leader's eyes widened with fear. He scrambled to his feet and stumbled out of the building, disappearing into the night. The two fallen raiders followed, dragging their injured comrade. Silence filled the room once more. The girls stood trembling, their glow slowly fading. The younger one sank to her knees, exhausted. The older one steadied her, her breath heavy. The human sheathed his blade and looked at them. "Now I understand," he said quietly. "This is why they feared you. This is why they called you wild." The older girl's eyes filled with both anger and sadness. "They see us only as weapons." The man shook his head. "No, what I saw tonight was not a weapon. It was life fighting to survive." His words struck deep. The sisters said nothing, but their hearts shifted. For the first time, someone had seen their power and not cursed it. Someone had seen beauty where others saw only danger. The lamp flickered, casting soft shadows on the walls. Outside, the city still moved, but inside the small room, a bond was growing stronger. The human had fought for them. They had revealed their true strength, and together, They had survived the night. But they all knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not ignore such power. More eyes would turn toward them. More hunters would come. And the choice they made now would decide their fate. The night after the raid passed slowly. The city's noise returned, but inside the broken building, the 3 survivors sat in silence. The younger girl slept deeply, her body still weak from the burst of light she had released. The older girl sat beside her, eyes glowing faintly, in the dim room. She never looked away from the human, watching every movement, searching for hidden motives. The man sat near the door, blade resting across his knees. He looked calm, but his mind was restless. He had seen the truth. The girls were not weak, not useless. They were something far greater. Their glow was not curse, it was power. Power strong enough to shake walls and scatter enemies. And power always drew attention. Far across the city, in a tower of metal and glass, the auctioneer spoke to his master. His grin was gone. His voice carried unease. It is true. The human bought the wild ones. I saw their light with my own eyes. They are dangerous. His master was a tall alien with skin like black stone and eyes like burning coals. He listened in silence, his long fingers tapping the arm of his chair. Finally, he said, "If the human can control them, he becomes a threat. We cannot allow that." The auctioneer bowed. "What should we do?" The master leaned forward. His voice was sharp, like a blade cutting air. "Send the hunter." The auctioneer trembled. The hunter was not ordinary. He was a name spoken in whispers, feared across many worlds. Once he chose a target, few survived. "Yes, my lord," the auctioneer said quickly. The order was given. Back in the small building, the older girl finally spoke. Her voice was low, firm. "You should have left us. Now you are marked. The city will come for us. You will die because of us." The human's eyes did not move from his blade. He spoke evenly, without fear. "I did not choose you to survive easily. I chose you because survival means nothing without meaning." The older girl frowned, her heart confused. She did not understand his words, but she felt their weight. The younger girl stirred in her sleep. She whispered softly, almost dreaming. "Safe. Safe." The older girl's chest tightened. For so long they had known nothing but fear. Could safety truly exist even for a moment? The human stood and moved to the window. He looked out at the streets below. Merchants carried goods, guards patrolled, and shadows slipped between buildings, but he knew danger was not far. Word spread quickly. Whispers traveled faster than ships. Already he felt eyes on them. That night, in the darkest corner of the city, the hunter arrived. He was tall, armored in black metal that shimmered faintly with strange energy. His mask hid his face, but 2 cold eyes glowed behind it. On his back rested a long spear, humming with power. He walked silently through the alleys, and even the criminals stepped aside. No one dared cross him. His reputation was written in blood across many worlds. At a tavern, near the market, he stopped. The auctioneer waited nervously at a table. When the hunter sat, silence fell over the room. "They are with a human," the auctioneer whispered. 2 girls, soft, wild, dangerous. Their glow is real. I saw it. The hunter's eyes narrowed. And this human? Foolish, but skilled. He fought raiders and lived. He sees value in them. The hunter leaned back. His voice was cold like stone grinding. Then he dies first, the girls will follow. The auctioneer shivered. In the old building, the human began preparing. He tightened his belt, checked his weapons, and packed food. The older girl asked, "You plan to run?" He shook his head. "Not run, move. Staying makes us easy prey." The younger girl sat up weakly, rubbing her eyes. Where will we go?" The man looked at her with steady eyes. "Away from the noise. Into the wild. Places where hunters fear to follow." The older girl scoffed. "Hunters fear nothing." The man's jaw tightened. "Then we will Show them why they should. The sisters exchanged a glance. For the first time, doubt wavered in the older one's heart. His words carried no arrogance, only certainty. Perhaps he truly believed they could fight. The younger girl touched her sister's hand. "I trust him," she whispered softly. The older one closed her eyes. She wanted to argue, but the words would not come. That night, as the city lights flickered, the hunter moved closer. He stood on a rooftop, staring down at the small building where his prey rested. He watched the human through the window. He saw the girls glowing faintly in the dark. His lips curved under the mask, though no one could see. "Tomorrow," he whispered to himself. "Tomorrow. They are mine." The wind howled through the city streets, carrying whispers of fear. The hunter waited, patient as stone. He had all the time in the world. And inside the building, unaware of the shadow above, the three rested for what might be their last peaceful night. The galaxy had begun to turn its gaze toward them. A human who defied the market, two alien girls with power like fire. And now the most feared hunter was on their trail. The game had only just begun. Dawn painted the city in pale orange light. Smoke curled above the markets and the streets filled with restless noise. But in the old building, silence sat heavy. The human was awake, sharpening his blade again, the sound of steel scraping filling the air. The sisters sat together, their glowing skin faint in the weak sunlight. The younger girl leaned against her sister, still weak from her power's release. The older one stayed alert, her eyes sharp, scanning every shadow in the room. She could feel it. Something was coming. The human finally spoke, his voice low. "Today will not be quiet. The hunter has found us." The younger girl gasped. The older one's face hardened. "How do you know?" The man looked at her calmly. "I've seen hunters before. Silence before the storm always feels the same." Before she could reply, the door exploded inward. Splinters of wood flew across the room. The hunter stepped through the smoke, tall and terrible in black armor. His long spear hummed with deadly energy. The sisters froze. Fear gripped them. The younger one clutched her sister's arm, trembling. The hunter's cold voice filled the room. "The girls belong to me." The human stood slowly, blade ready in his hand, his eyes narrowed. "They belong to no one." The hunter tilted his head slightly. "You are only human. You cannot protect them." "Try me," the man answered. The fight began with a roar. The hunter lunged, his spear slicing through the air like lightning. The human barely blocked, the impact sending him stumbling back. Sparks flew where steel clashed against alien energy. The room shook with each strike. Tables shattered, walls cracked. The sisters huddled in the corner, eyes wide with terror. The younger one whispered, "He'll die." The older one bit her lip, her heart torn. She had wanted to keep distance, to never trust fully. But the human was fighting with everything, not for himself, but for them. The hunter swung again, his spear tearing a deep cut into the floor. The human rolled aside, striking back, but his blade scraped harmlessly against the hunter's armor. The difference in power was clear. The hunter laughed coldly. "You fight well, but you are only flesh. I am more." The man's breathing grew, heavy, sweat on his brow. But his eyes never wavered. He shouted toward the sisters, "You are not weak. Do not hide now. Stand with me." The older girl's heart pounded. His words echoed inside her, breaking chains of doubt. She looked at her sister, who trembled with glowing light. For years they had been told they were worthless. For years, their power was called a curse. But this human, he saw it as strength. The older girl rose to her feet. Her glow flared brighter, her wild energy shaking the air. She shouted, her voice sharp and fierce, "We are not weak." The hunter turned just as she thrust out her hands. A wave of raw energy slammed into him, forcing him back a step. His eyes glowed brighter with rage. The younger girl stood too, her light brighter than the sun. Her small voice rose, trembling, but strong. "Together, The sisters unleashed their power in unison. One's wild force struck like a storm, chaotic and untamed. The other's radiant light burned like fire, pure and blinding. The hunter staggered under their combined strength. His armor cracked, his spear shuddered. He roared in fury, slamming his weapon down to counter. Energy erupted, shaking the ground. The human seized the moment. With a fierce cry, he charged forward, blade flashing. He struck at the weak point in the hunter's chest where the armor had cracked. Steel met flesh. The hunter roared in pain. The sister's power surged once more, knocking the spear from his hands. The weapon clattered to the floor, sparking wildly. The hunter fell to his knees, smoke rising from his broken armor. His cold eyes burned with hate, but his strength was fading. The human stood over him, blade at his throat. His voice was steady, unshaken. "Leave, or die here," the hunter growled. His pride screamed for battle, but his body betrayed him. Slowly, he stumbled to his feet, glaring at the three. His voice was low, venomous. "This is not the end. More will come. Stronger than me." He vanished into the shadows, limping but alive. Silence fell again. The room was wrecked, walls cracked, furniture destroyed, dust thick in the air. But they were still standing. The younger girl collapsed to her knees, trembling, her glow fading to a faint shimmer. The older one caught her, holding her close. The human lowered his blade, his chest rising and falling heavily. He looked at them, his voice calm but fierce. "Do you see now? Your strength is not a curse, it is life. With it you can survive. With it, you are free." The older girl met his gaze. For the first time, her suspicion softened. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "You fought for us. Not to own us, but to stand with us." The human nodded. "Always." The sisters held each other, tears in their glowing eyes. For so long they had been unwanted, mocked, and feared. But now, in this broken room, they had fought back, together with a human who refused to see them as weak. The battle was over. But the war had just begun. The night after the battle was heavy with silence. The small building lay in ruins, walls cracked, the floor broken, the air still thick with dust. But within the wreckage, 3 figures remained alive. The human sat by the doorway, his blade resting beside him. His arm was cut, blood dried on his sleeve, but his eyes stayed sharp. He did not rest. He knew hunters never worked alone. The sisters lay close together on the floor, their glowing skin dimmed now, soft like faint fire under ashes. The younger, one stirred first, blinking slowly. She looked at her sister, then at the man. "He fought for us," she whispered. The older sister nodded, her voice quiet, uncertain. "Yes. But why?" The human heard her. He spoke without looking at them. "Because you are more than chains. You are more than what they call you." The older sister's chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to them like that. Always they had been cursed, mocked, or feared. Yet this human, he treated them as if they mattered, she said softly, almost afraid to believe it. "We are not weak." The man turned, meeting her glowing eyes. His voice was firm. "No. You are strong. Stronger than they know." Morning came slowly. The city outside returned to life. Merchants shouting, machines roaring, the endless trade of the market. But whispers now spread through those streets. The wild ones fought back, the human lives. The hunter failed. Fear mixed with curiosity. Many now wondered, if a human and 2 outcasts could defeat the hunter, what else were they capable of? Far, in the tower of stone and glass, the master of the auctioneer raged. His black eyes burned with fury. "One hunter could not stop them. Then I will send armies." The galaxy was beginning to turn its gaze upon the trio. Inside the ruined building, the human began to pack what little he owned. A small bag, food supplies, his blade. He moved with calm purpose. The younger girl asked softly, "Are we leaving?" Yes, the man said. This city is no longer safe. We must go where their reach is weaker. The older girl frowned. There is no place safe. Perhaps, the man admitted. But there are places they fear. Wild lands, dead zones, hidden stars. That is where we will go. The sisters exchanged a glance. For years they had been pushed, sold, traded like goods. Running had been their only life. But this was different. They were not running alone. The younger one smiled faintly. Together, the older one touched her sister's hand. Her suspicion had not fully vanished, but a new feeling had begun to grow. Trust. Thin, fragile, but real. As they prepared to leave, the human paused. He looked at the sisters and spoke quietly. You must understand, from here the road will not be easy. They will come again. Stronger, faster, crueler, they will chase us across worlds. The older girl lifted her chin. Then we will fight. The younger girl's glow flickered brighter. With you. For the first time, the man smiled. A small, tired smile, but real. Yes. With me. They stepped out of the ruined building into the morning streets. The crowd stared. Merchants whispered. Some pointed in fear, others in awe. No one moved to stop them. The human walked tall, blade at his side. The sisters walked close behind, their faint glow lighting the air. Together, they cut a path through the sea of eyes. The auctioneer saw them from the edge of the crowd, his lips twisted into a nervous smile. They had survived what should have killed them. And he knew. This was only the beginning. Beyond the city, the world stretched wide. Forests of silver trees swayed in the wind. Rivers of glowing water carved the land. Above, the sky was filled with stars, countless and endless. The sisters stopped for a moment, staring in awe. For so long they had known only cages and markets. Now, for the first time, the horizon was open. The human looked at them, his voice steady. This is freedom. Not given, not bought, earned. The older girl's eyes shimmered. We never thought we would see it. The younger one whispered, her voice trembling. Is it real? Can it last? The man placed a hand on his blade, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Only if we fight to keep it. The three of them continued forward, leaving the city behind. Their footsteps echoed across the wild path. They were no longer master and slaves, no longer worthless outcasts. They were something else now. Companions. Bound by choice, by struggle, by survival. The sisters glowed brighter with each step. Not weak, not wild, not cursed. Seen for the first time as they truly were. And the human who chose them against the laughter of the galaxy had lit a spark that could not be hidden. Above them, the stars burned. Somewhere in the distance, enemies gathered, hunters planned, and darkness spread. But here on this path a new beginning had been born, and perhaps, just perhaps, this human and the last two alien girls would change the fate of more than just themselves.